Hey guys, today I have a Halloween special and I'm so excited for this video because it's my first true crime video that I'll be covering, so hopefully it goes well. But this is my Halloween decoration to kind of set the mood. I'll be covering the story of the boy in the box. This is a mystery that has been unsolved, or is still unsolved to this day. It's been about, at least I would think it's 50 to 60 years, maybe a little bit more, since this happened. Okay, so the story begins with a college student finding the body. He found it in an illegal dumping ground, and when he found the body, he did not report it to the police, so he did 24 hours before he contacted authorities to let them know. But interesting enough, this was not the first discovery of the body. Somebody else prior to him, a couple days before, had found him. This was a local man who was checking around his muskrat traps around the area. And because they were illegal, he knew they were illegal, he did not contact police. So in fear of him being in trouble or being a suspect in the case, or maybe in the murder, he did not contact police. So that's where our story kind of begins. What they know from the crime scene, it's that there was a box, a boy was in it, and he was wrapped in a blanket, and he didn't have any clothing or any other items that could give off what his identity was. The boy was described to be 3 to 6 years old, but due to his malnourishment, he looked at about 3 years old. He was 3 feet 3 inches. He weighed about 30 pounds. He was a fair complexion, had blue eyes, brown, blondish hair, and his hair was recently cut. He also had many bruises covering his body, mainly in his chest area and legs. He also had several scars in his chest, and they looked to be surgical, so they weren't really sure what they were, but they were located in his chest and groin area, and also his left ankle. He also had several blows to his head, so the cause of death was ruled to be head trauma. Authorities speculate that because of the weather, since it was the middle of the winter, they weren't able to tell if he had been 2 to 3 days, if he had been there 2 to 3 days, or if he had been there for 2 to 3 weeks. It was very difficult to tell what had happened. Or police were sure that somebody would come forward and report a missing child, or that because his photograph was taken, he was photographed by the medical examiner, and he was also photographed in sort of like a propped way, kind of like sitting up and trying to like done up, just so that they could have a picture of what he looked like before, and maybe if somebody saw that photograph, could have recognized him and could have come forward, or could have given them a lead into, finding who he was or the murderer. But this never occurred. Nobody ever came forward. Nobody ever reported that there was a missing child. The box that he was found in is very important. So it was from a bassinet, a baby bassinet, and it was sold at a local JCPenney that was, I think, about 15 miles away from where he was found, or the town that he was found in. So 12 of these boxes were sold, and they were all paid in cash, and unfortunately there was no record, so nothing came of it. But the police was able to track down about 8 of these boxes. When people started coming forward, they were able to tell the police that they still had the box, or that they had put it out for trash collection. This particular box that he was found in, police were able to track to Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, but because it was paid in cash, there was no record, so nothing else came of it. So the next clue is the blanket that he was found in. Police was able to track down the flannel blanket that he was found in. They discovered that it was made possibly made in Canada or North Carolina. And unfortunately, since it was mass produced and thousands were distributed across the country, police wasn't able to determine who it was purchased by. Their key clue was a blue corduroy hat that was found 15 feet away from the body or the box that the boy was in. So police was able to determine that the hat was made by a local company, and they were actually able to speak to the owner. And the owner's name was Hannah Robbins. She was able to say that she did remember the hat. It was a custom made. A man came and placed an order. He paid in cash. So again, no record of who the man was or where he had come from. So again, another dead end. Another key clue that was found was hair, chunks of hair found in his body, and police estimated that his hair had been recently cut just before he had died, or right after he had died, or right before he was dumped. So it was very choppy and cut in like a hastily way. Police found that he had that washerwoman effect. That means that his hands and feet were wrinkled, and this led them to believe that he had been underwater or submerged underwater right before he was dumped. So that was kind of something weird that they found and very interesting. The first theory comes from the medical examiner. His name was Remington Bristow, and he believed that the boy died accidentally, and his family never came forward because of the fear of being charged with his murder. And the second theory comes from authors Lou Romano and Jim Hoffman, and this actually came from a lead that they were following from the case. They claimed to have met a man who told them that his family rented a place to another man who claimed to have sold his son. I know, pretty weird. Who would sell their kids and just like very nonchalant say, oh yeah, I'm just kind of like renting the place and I also sold my son. So the third theory comes from a foster family that lived about 1.5 to 2 miles away from the crime scene. And this was the place that police wanted to go to in the first place. 104, so the family was ruled out, but to this day there is still speculation that Arthur Nicoletti and his wife Anna Marie Nicoletti were somehow involved in the case. Refused to take a detector's test, so there was no leads there. But another interesting fact was that a psychic that was hired by the medical examiner was able to lead police to the house, the foster home that lived about 2 miles from the crime scene. She was able to lead them to the house, not knowing the area. The fourth and final lead came from a woman named Martha, and this was their most prominent lead. She was from Cincinnati, and she contacted police saying that, or she claimed that when she was 11 years old, her mother had given an envelope for a boy. She also claimed that her mother did sexually abuse her and the boy, and the incident happened when, after struggling to bathe him, her mother beat him to death. And did claim that her mother did drive her and the boy to Philly to abandon the body. She did have a history of mental illness, so again, nothing ever came from this other theory, so they were back to square one. Another update is that in February 23rd, 1998, his body was exhumed and DNA evidence was collected in efforts to put it back in the system or in another database, and hopefully they can get a match from a relative or maybe get a hit from someone that could possibly recognize and confirm the identity of the boy in the box. He also has a website that I can link down below where you guys can check out all the information that I just talked about. And let's just try to get his story out there. I feel like there is someone out there that can determine who this boy was. Alright, so this is all I have for Halloween. Thank you so much for watching, and be safe out there. And enjoy Halloween.